After dark, 7 spine-chilling secrets of the haunting Brock Hotel, revealed hidden for years. The Brock Hotel had stood for decades, an ominous relic on the edge of Maplewood, shrouded in whispers of the night. Locals hushed their voices when they spoke of the flickering lights and the heavy footsteps echoing through empty halls. They said the very foundation of the hotel was forged from the tearful goodbyes of forlorn lovers and the last breaths of soldiers returning home, leading some to believe it was a portal to the other side. Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that the moment she crossed the threshold, she had stepped into another realm. "Can you hear that?" she asked Emma, her teenage daughter. The air seemed to crackle with electric tension. Emma nodded, her eyes wide. They stood together, the weight of the hotel's secrets pushing against their chests. Among the most notorious stories echoed throughout town was that of a mysterious soldier and apparition said to roam the corridors at twilight, dressed in a faded uniform. Some claimed he cried out for a lost love, while others insisted he kept watch over the souls trapped in the hotel's grasp. What really happened in those long-ago days? With each creak of the floorboards beneath their feet, Jessica felt the hotel breathe alive, yet agonizing. Both an invitation and a warning that as they began their renovation, odd things started to happen. A mirror shattered without warning, leaving shards glimmering ominously like unspoken words on the floor. Was it an accident or a supernatural sign? Whispers filled the corners, secrets clawing to be told, yet Jessica felt the weight of the past closing in. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With each sunset, the hotel revealed more. Jessica discovered a dusty journal hidden in the attic her grandmother's. Every word breathed of sorrow and darkness, concluding with warning, "The past haunts the living." How could this be true? Was she destined to repeat her family's mistakes? The townsfolk remained skeptical. Just tales to frighten children, they grumbled, turning away from her fervent claims. But with whispers of figures locked in despair, murmurs of sadness resonated more than mere superstition. Eyes glimmered curiously, a divided town standing on the precipice of awakening or denial. As they prepared for the seance, tension crackled like static. Jessica's heart raced. This felt like stepping into the lion's den. Could she pull back the veil of the hotel's past without losing herself? Every moment spent within the crumbling walls deepened her resolve, making her energy surge with determination. Yet, fear curled in her stomach like a nesting snake, a potent reminder of her vulnerability. The looming question remained: would uncovering the hotel's secrets lead to rebirth or ruin? As shadows lengthened and the town buzzed with discontent, an unsettling thought gripped Jessica. The darkness they sought might not be a foe but a flighty companion. What if, in confronting these spirits, they unveiled truths darker than simply assembling a family history? The Brock Hotel held answers, but the real question lingered like smoke in the air: would revealing the past offer freedom or shackles? The moment arrived, draped in uncertainty. The room was dim, with flickering candles illuminating the circle of eager faces. Jessica looked around at her companions. Emma, flushed with excitement. A neighbor, Mr. Harrison, who wore an expression of skeptical curiosity, and Sarah, the quirky medium who had insisted on joining them. Jessica's heart raced as she recalled the stories of those who dared to summon the spirits within these walls. Would they face something benign or something demonic? As Sarah began to speak, the room fell silent. "We call upon any spirits trapped here," she declared, her voice echoing in the quaint but oppressive environment. "We welcome you to share your stories." Jessica felt a shiver run down her spine. It was as if the very air shifted, growing denser with each word. Shadows danced in the corners, and despite her insistence on remaining rational, the primal fear clawed at her insides. Emma trembled beside her, a mix of wonder and dread flickering in her young eyes. They waited, barely breathing. The seconds stretched into eternity. Just when Jessica thought the seance would end in awkward silence, the temperature in the room dropped, freezing the air. The faint sound of footsteps echoed, a soft but intent patter against the wooden floor. And then a voice low and mournful seeped through the cracks of silence. I wait. I wait for her. The words were haunting, filled with a yearning so palpable that Jessica's heart ached. Emma gasped. Her grip tightened on Jessica's sleeve. The medium's eyes went wide, gleaming with a mixture of fear and fascination. Who is it? Sarah cried out. What do you want? The room felt alive, vibrating with the weight of stories untold. The voice cried out once more, and this time it was clearer. She left without saying goodbye. Jessica's breath caught in her throat. Every instinct screamed at her to flee. What if this soldier was more than a mere echo? What if he needed their help? Questions flooded her mind, entangling her thoughts like vines. Suddenly, the candles flickered violently, the flames casting wild shadows that twisted and warped the familiar faces around her. In a loud crash, the mirror hanging on the wall shattered, sending shards raining down like glassy raindrops. Get out! Mr. Harrison shouted, his face pale. Panic gripped the group. Emma shook as she stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a chair. No, wait, Jessica called, trying to keep her composure amid the encroaching chaos. She couldn't let fear win. We need to understand. But the spirits had a different plan. Just then, the windows rattled, the wind howled, and in a moment of sheer unrest, it felt like the hotel itself was awakening. The very being of the Brock Hotel seemed to tremble with rage or despair. The medium thrust out her hands, pleading with the unseen presence. Tell us what you need. We're here to listen. A chilling breeze whipped through the room, carrying what felt like voices angry, hurt, and desperate. Jessica's heart raced as the air thickened, a suffocating weight bearing down. Her name is written in blood. The soldier's voice emerged in a raspy whisper, drowning Jessica in icy dread. Before she could register the impact of those words, darkness folded in around them, swallowing the light and hope of the room. Time twisted in that moment, and the group clutched each other, caught between fear and curiosity. With her heart pounding, Jessica realized the question loomed larger than ever. Who was this woman, and what price would they pay to uncover the truth? The history of the Brock Hotel had awakened, but this was only the beginning. The air crackled with tension as the shadows swallowed the last flicker of light. Jessica felt her heart thumping in her chest, burning with the urgency of a race against time. The oppressive silence felt blinding, leaving only the echoes of the soldier's voice a reminder of the urgency they faced. Jessica, we need to get out of here. Emma's voice trembled, echoing her fear, but Jessica couldn't budge. Something deeper inside her held her in place, anchoring her to the unfolding mystery. Wait, just a moment longer, Jessica urged, her voice shaking but resolute. Do you think you can reason with a ghost? Mr. Harrison scoffed, but his eyes betrayed his fear as he stepped back, glancing nervously at the shattered mirror. Sarah closed her eyes, searching for an answer among the swirling darkness. We must listen. They are trying to tell us something, she insisted, her tone a mix of fear and determination. You, in the shadows, who are you? The soldier's voice returned, now urgent. She must be saved. You must find her. Jessica felt a shiver claw its way up her spine, a summoning of grief woven with an obligation to uncover the truth. Find who? She asked, forcing herself to step closer to Sarah and the unseen specter. Her name. It is ours to reveal, the soldier rasped, each word slow and heavy as if laden with ages of sorrow. The weight of his pain resonated within her like a distant bell tolling. Blood binds us. Without warning, the room shook as if the ground wished to uproot itself. Dust spiraled through the air, catching the faint candlelight like tiny stars in an expanding galaxy of despair. Jessica's gut tied in knots, and adrenaline pulsed through her veins. The name. We have to know the name, Sarah cried, desperation bleeding into her voice. Mr. Harrison jumped backward, practically colliding with the wall, his bravado cracking like the glass now littering the floor. It's not safe, he shouted, his voice shrill with panic. We should leave this place. Listen, Jessica barked, spinning towards him. What if this spirit needs our help? What if we're the only chance they have? She couldn't quite understand why she felt so compelled to stand her ground. Maybe it was the thrill of history weaving through her veins, or the mere promise of revelation weighing heavily upon her? Emma squeezed Jessica's hand, her anxious eyes reflecting back the flickering candlelight. What if we unleash something worse? She whispered, fear evident in her voice. But the soldier seemed resolute, his anguish cutting through the muffle of surrounding chaos. Help her with a sudden surge of courage. Jessica called into the shadows. Tell us your name. Please, don't let her suffering go unanswered. Silence hung heavily around them, and then like a spell being broken, everything shifted. Wisps of fog curled in from the corners of the room, enclosing them in a thick curtain of wispy despair that smelled faintly of decaying wood and secrets buried deep within time. Before anyone could react, an image flickered in Jessica's mind, an old photograph, its edges frayed and worn. A woman with hauntingly beautiful eyes, standing somberly beside a soldier in uniform. A name flickered at the edge of her memory, but just as quickly, it slipped away like sand through fingers. Tell us her name, Jessica cried, desperation lacing her words as the temperature in the room plummeted again. Chills raced down her spine. What was happening? The very walls of the hotel creaked and groaned, as if participating in the unearthly plea. Her name is the key. The soldier trembled through the chilling dark, and their candles flickered ominously, casting flickering shadows that twisted across the walls like tortured souls. Jessica felt panic rise within her again. She was racing against time. If they did not uncover this mystery, could they be the ones to suffer the same tragic fate? Just then, the ground beneath them lurched violently, and the candles extinguished, plunging the room into darkness. A hushed voice whispered in the silence, "Look for the truth before the light fades forever." Jessica's mind reeled. What truth? And why did it feel only they could light the way? The unknown haunted them, waiting beneath the surface, its claws ready to tear apart their newfound determination. The ghostly cries grew louder, intertwining with their own fears, enveloping them with the promise of something dark and long forgotten. What truth lay hidden in the shadows? And who was the woman whose name was whispered with dread? As the darkness stretched, Jessica knew something sinister lurked in the heart of the Brock Hotel, and they were perilously close to unearthing an unspeakable reality. Would they decipher the clues, or become just another haunting within the hotel's merciless walls? With the room shrouded in total blackness, every breath felt louder, every heartbeat more pronounced. Jessica's skin prickled, her instincts screaming at her to flee. But the whispering shadows wrapped tight around her, a reminder that leaving without answers wasn't an option. Stay close, she whispered fiercely, even though she couldn't see her friends. The group had always been stronger together, but in moments like this, it felt like they could easily slip away into the dark, fading into the ghostly memories that filled this cursed space. Emma's voice broke through the stillness. What do? We can't stay here. It's wrong. A low rumble echoed through the hotel, vibrating through the floor until it settled in Jessica's bones. Shoo, Sarah hissed. Listen, I hear something. An unsettling groan emanated from the corner of the room, and with it came a glimmer of memory that surged through Jessica's mind like a tidal wave. The woman from the photograph, the one with the haunting eyes, her name danced just beyond the brink of Jessica's consciousness. Focus, Jessica urged, her voice steady despite her own fear. What do we need to do to help her? Follow the sound. Sarah shot back, sounding more confident than Jessica felt. Maybe it's the soldier. He is trying to guide us. In the enveloping darkness, the soft trickle of water began to echo, like a distant rain tapping on metal. It wove through the heavy silence and beckoned them forward. Jessica felt a strange pull toward the sound, a magnetic connection, as if whatever lay ahead was determined to reveal something profound. Tentatively, they made their way deeper into the unknown, every footfall muted against the ancient wood floor. The closer they got, the more urgent the whispers grew, pregnant with secrets and despair. Suddenly, Jessica stumbled over what felt like a fallen chair. She barely managed to catch herself, the fleeting thought of impending doom flashing in her mind. It was, however, not enough to pull her from the path they had set. What was that? Emma shrieked, her body trembling beside her. We should turn back. No, Jessica snapped. This is the only way forward. We can't let fear stop us now. Her voice rang with a strength she didn't quite possess. As they pressed on, the whispers became distinct, drowning out the unsettling sound of their own battle-worn breaths. "Help her," it was the soldier again, his voice a frayed thread weaving through layers of sorrow. In a moment that felt suspended in time, a flicker of light broke the darkness. A flame, a single candle, its wax dripped grotesquely down its side, lit a small alcove ahead. But as they approached, the flickering flame distorted into shapes, and silhouettes danced wickedly in the light. "Is that—" Emma hesitated, staring wide-eyed at the apparition, staring back at them, a figure draped in shadows, who seemed both familiar and alien. Jessica's heart quickened. "Maybe it's her," she gasped, a rush of hope igniting her resolve. "Maybe she knows what we need." The shadow seemed to twist, drawing itself into a more definite shape. A woman with sorrow etched deeply into her features emerged from the wraith-like smoke. Her mouth moved, but no sound met their ears. Instead, the shadows around her began swirling, forming words in the air, letters rippling. "Find her name." I don't recognize her," Jessica cried, frustration boiling over. "What is her name?" The woman's eyes locked onto Jessica's, and then for an instant, she looked behind Jessica. Fear shot through her. What was she looking at? "Turn back," Sarah screamed as the atmosphere crackled with palpable energy. The shadows convulsed, merging into a baleful wail that pierced their hearts. "Do not ignore me." A chilling realization washed over Jessica like icy water. The name wasn't just a clue, it was a plea for their lives. They hadn't just stumbled into a mystery. They were entwined with a darker fate, one that could pull them beneath the surface of time into a legacy of loss and regret. With a surge of adrenaline, Jessica clutched Emma's hand. "We need to figure this out." But as she turned back to the woman, the glowing light extinguished, and with it, all sense of direction. The weight of despair thickened the the shadows closed around them once more. Jessica knew they had only scratched the surface of a horror buried deep within the Brock Hotel. What was her name? What darkness lay behind the unanswered questions? A scream echoed through the halls, and this time, it sounded strangely familiar. "What was that?" Jessica asked, dread creeping into her voice. Would they survive the hotel's grasp, or become another whisper lost in the dark? The scream reverberated through the walls, a twisted echo that clawed its way into Jessica's thoughts. Panic surged like ice water flowing through her veins. She turned, her eyes straining to penetrate the darkness. "Did you hear that?" she hissed. "Of course we heard it." Emma shot back, her voice trembling. "What was that?" "Maybe it's the woman," Sarah suggested, albeit with a quiver in her voice that betrayed her own fear. "Maybe she has stopped." Jessica snapped, cutting off the rising tide of speculation. They couldn't afford to panic, not now. "We have to focus." She rubbed her temples, trying to clear her mind, struggling to remember more about the woman from the photograph. Who was she? Find her. To name the words hung in the air like a challenge. But how? Where could they even start? As they stood paralyzed, the shadows around them warped and shifted. A cold gust of air swept through the room, and Jessica felt a chill run down her spine. She heard it again, that low rumble, now mingling with the scrape of something heavy against the wooden floor. "Look," Emma pointed, her finger trembling. There, just beyond the wavering light of the candle, another figure began to materialize. This one seemed larger, more ominous. The whispers grew louder, swirling into an angry murmur. "Leave now, danger now," Jessica shouted defiantly, fueled by a surge of adrenaline. "We're not leaving." But the shadows thickened, encasing the group in a stifling cocoon of dread. The larger figure moved closer, an indistinct shape with darkened features. Jessica's heart raced as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. Could it be the soldier? Suddenly it was there, right in front of them. An apparition of a young man, but he looked tormented, as if he were caught in an eternal struggle. "Help her." His voice was low and strained, barely a whisper yet layered with desperation. "Why?" Jessica managed, her throat tight. "We need her name. Tell us." The soldier locked eyes with her, his gaze penetrating the overwhelming darkness. The look was one of sorrow mingled with urgency. "You must find her name, or you will remain here lost." A wave of despair washed over her. "But how?" Jessica screamed, feeling the unbearable weight of the shadows pressing down, threatening to swallow her whole. Before he could respond, The shadows surged forward. The acrid scent of decay filled her nostrils as thick tendrils of darkness coiled around her ankles. Jessica fought against them, pulling Emma and Sarah closer. "Hold on," she shouted, fighting to keep them grounded, but her strength faltered beneath the oppressive force. The candle flickered wildly, casting bizarre shapes that whirled before her eyes. Panic seized her heart with icy fingers. "We need to find a way out." "Look," Sarah gasped, pointing toward the far end of the alcove. Emerging from the enveloping darkness was a door, one they hadn't noticed until now. The wood was aged, splintered, but it was a glimmer of hope and escape. "Let us go," Jessica yelled, taking charge and sprinting towards it. But as they drew closer, the whispers morphed into a cacophony of anguish. "Do not abandon me." Jessica felt a jolt of fear at the thought of leaving the woman behind, trapped and lost. "No, we have to help her," she shouted, almost pleading, and then, amidst the swirling chaos, Emma's voice cut through the panic. "What if we shout out names? Maybe one will resonate." Her suggestion hung in the air, a fragile lifeline. "Okay," Jessica agreed, her heart racing with renewed purpose. "On three, we shout whatever comes to mind." They prepared themselves, drawing a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, Madeline, and Clara. As the names echoed in the dark, the shadows exploded with wrath, howling in protest. Wind shrieked through the room, and Jessica felt it something shifting. The air crackled with energy, and the room began to tremble. "Faster! Yell more names," she urged, her body shaking with trepidation. But just as they were about to scream again, the bigger shadow lunged forward, reaching for them with an almost human desperation. Jessica stumbled back, her body colliding with Emma. Then came a different sound, a long-forgotten voice, ringing through the air with a name that felt hauntingly familiar. Eliza, with that single name, came an electrifying flash. Instantly, the room fell silent. The shadows stilled, and everything froze. "What is happening?" Emma whispered, wide-eyed. Jessica felt a chill of realization. They were on the brink of something monumental, a truth buried under layers of sorrow that threatened to break free. But would it be too late? The door behind them thudded ominously as something stirred deep within the shadows, and before they could process what was happening, the walls began to shift, alive with a menacing energy, closing in around them. What would they face on the other side of this revelation? Would the name they had uttered lead them to salvation or doom? The silence shattered like glass, the tension slicing through the air. Jessica's heart thudded in her chest, each beat vibrating with dread. The name Eliza hung in the lingering shadows, like a ghost on the verge of revelation. They stood there, breath held, waiting for the darkness to respond. But instead of the anguished howls or the suffocating tendrils they expected, there was a sudden shift. The flickering candlelight brightened, illuminating the door they had spotted moments ago. It stood there, less like a passage to freedom and more like an invitation shrouded in uncertainty. "Do you think we should?" Sarah's voice trailed off, uncertainty turning her question into a hushed whisper. "I think we have to. Whatever's lurking in here, 1T, let us go without a fight," Jessica said, her resolve hardening. The eerie calm that replaced the chaos felt like the calm before the storm. With a shaky breath, she took a step towards the door, her instincts screaming at her to retreat. "Stay close," she urged, glancing back at Emma and Sarah, who nodded, their faces pale, eyes wide. As they approached, the air felt charged, almost electric. It was as if the door pulsed with a life of its own, beckoning them forward. Each step felt heavier than the last, the shadows swirling around them like smoke, whispering secrets that clawed at their sanity. "Eliza, Eliza," the whispers sang, turning insistent, echoing in their minds. The more the name repeated, the harsher the shadows pressed against them, a visceral reminder of their looming specter. "Let us push it open," Jessica said, mustering courage she barely felt. She reached for the knob, its coldness biting against her palm. With a deep breath, she twisted it. The door creaked open, revealing an empty hallway, dimly lit and stretching into darkness. A sudden blast of cold air rushed out, hitting them like a wave. It reeked of dampness and despair, a pungent reminder of forgotten souls. "Hello?" Jessica called, her voice echoing ominously in the stillness. Silence fell, oppressive and thick. Yet, deep within, she felt something shift. A presence, clamoring to be acknowledged. Look, Emma pointed, her gaze fixed on the floor just beyond the threshold. A trail of fresh footprints led deeper into the gloom, each one revealing a story left untold. Someone's been here, Sarah murmured, eyes darting nervously. We have to be careful, Jessica's instincts flared. The urge to follow this unseen force outweighed her fear. We might find Eliza, or whatever truth we've stirred. She stepped over the threshold, drawing Emma and Sarah with her. As they walked, the hallway twisted around them, bending and curling like an optical illusion. The walls whispered confessions. Jessica swore she could hear cries mingled with laughter, like fractured memories trapped between time and reality. Do you see that? Jessica's voice dropped to a whisper, her breath hitching in her throat. At the end of the hall stood a mirror, its glass tarnished and cracked, but it shimmered oddly under the dim light. It's reflecting something, Sarah said, her eyes widened incredulously. As they neared, the surface seemed to ripple, showing fleeting images behind them. Figures flickered in and out, a woman with braided hair, the soldier, a child, each face brimming with unspoken emotions. Each reflected form drew them closer, pulling at the very fabric of their being. Don't look away, Emma urged, her voice rising with a hint of panic as she felt a pull to turn back. But it was too late. They were entranced, drowning in the depths of the mirror's haunting reflections. In an instant, the glass shimmered, engulfing them in a blinding flash of light. The world shifted and disintegrated, leaving Jessica grasping for clarity. Where are we? Emma's terrified voice pulled her from the haze. As their eyes adjusted, they found themselves in a different place altogether, a room adorned with remnants of a past they couldn't comprehend. Old furniture lay overturned, remnants of lives interrupted, and in the center, draped in shadow, stood a figure. A woman. Help me. Find Eliza, she pleaded, her voice a ghostly echo. The walls trembled, like ominous thuds of war drums preparing for battle. Is this Eliza? Sarah barely managed before the phantom woman began to fade, the shadows closing in again with vengeful thirst. Wait, Jessica screamed, reaching out, but it was too late. The room cracked like glass, splintering under a weight too heavy to bear. What were they about to confront? Would they unearth the truth that lay buried with Eliza, or be consumed by the fate of those long lost? The room lurched, darkness yawning beneath them, an abyss of despair. The darkness enveloped them, swirling like a storm. Jessica's pulse pounded in her ears. Was it dread? Anticipation? The air was thick with the scent of mildew, decay, memories lost to time. Where did she go? Emma whispered, her voice cracking. The flickering remnants of the woman's shadow slipped through Jessica's fingers like fog. Maybe she knows something, Jessica replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She stepped deeper into the room, every instinct screaming at her to retreat. She reached for the overturned chair. The cold wood underneath her fingertips sent chills up her spine. It felt wrong, like touching a warning. Look, Sarah pointed toward the wall. Faded photographs hung crookedly, flickers of life captured in time. Vague faces stared back at them with hollow eyes, remnants of stories untold. One caught Jessica's eye, a little girl, her face radiant with joy, dark curls cascading around her shoulders, a bright ribbon tied neatly at the back. Eliza. Jessica's heart sank, the name rolling off her tongue like a curse. Do you think that's her? Emma stepped closer, peering at the image. The girl seemed alive, her expression radiant and inviting. Yet Jessica felt the chill of something sinister lurking beneath that innocent smile. Suddenly, the shadows thickened, as if responding to her thoughts. The pictures trembled, the frames rattling against the nails that held them. An icy gust swept through the room, whispering a language of sorrow and despair. It sent all three of them stumbling back as the air thickened into a suffocating blanket. Maybe we should just leave, Sarah said, trembling. This place, it's wrong. But Jessica felt the pull, the lure of the mystery down every darkened corner of this forsaken hotel. We can't back out now. We've come too far. The photos flickered, and another image emerged. This time, Jessica recognized the woman from moments before, her face exchanged for a mask of anguish. Her eyes pooled with desperation, silently pleading for release. What had happened to these people? A steep sense of urgency ripped through Jessica, making the air crackle with tension. We need to find out. Eliza, there's a reason we're all here. Another image flared to life before their eyes. It captured chaotic scenes, fire, terror screams frozen in time. An unsettling dread settled into Jessica's chest as she realized these were not mere snapshots. They were memories, fraught with grief and loss. Emma gasped, her fingers moving to her mouth. What if they're all trapped here? What if we're next? No. Jessica snapped. We have to break this cycle. Her determination steeled around her as she scanned the darkened corners of the room. At the far side, a door lay nestled within the shadows, its surface marred and warped. What do you think is behind there? Emma's voice trembled. We'll find out, Jessica responded, her heart thundering in her chest in defiance of fear. She stepped toward the door, leaving the comfort of familiarity behind. Shadows clawed at her, but she pushed forward. The door creaked as she placed her hand on the cold brass knob. An unsettling feeling washed over her. This was at the threshold to answers. She turned the knob, and the door swung open with a low groan. Beyond it lay an even darker corridor, lined with doors that loomed like sentinels guarding dark secrets. The air was damp, alive with whispered terror. As they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them with a violent force, echoing through the dark. What is happening? Sarah whimpered, panic rising in her voice. Before Jessica could respond, the lights flickered violently overhead. Shadows danced mocking figures on the walls, and a colossal chill washed over the corridor. A low growl rumbled from deep within, reverberating through flesh and bones. We need to go back, Emma screamed, stumbling backward, only to find the door had vanished completely, leaving them in a void of desolation. An unsettling silence settled abruptly, absorbing their breaths. Then, a voice whispered from the shadows, chilling them to the core. You shouldn't have come here. The past awakens. What had they unleashed in their quest for truth? As they stood frozen, fear cementing their feet to the crime scene of history, a whisper echoed. Help us find Eliza. In an instant, the shadows lunged forward, shrouding them. The grip of the abyss tightened. Would they uncover Eliza's fate, or become the next names lost to the whispers of the Brock Hotel? The shadows seemed to pulse, wrapping around Jessica, Emma, and Sarah with an insatiable hunger. Each breath became harder, as if the air itself was thickening with dread. Jessica's heart raced, its frantic thumps resonating with the deep growl still echoing through the corridor. Stay close, Jessica shouted, though her own voice sounded weak and small in the dark. They huddled together, an impromptu fortress against the unseen horrors around them. The flickering overhead lights cast long shadows that twisted and turned, tormented by their presence. What now? Emma's voice trembled, a whisper laced with panic. Keep moving. We can't stand here, Jessica replied, forcing herself to take a step forward. As they walked deeper into the corridor, doors lined the walls, each bearing the weight of secrets. Some were ajar, revealing glimpses of rooms drenched in darkness. Maybe we should check one of those rooms, Sarah suggested hesitantly, her eyes darting nervously. No. We need to find the exit, Emma implored, but Jessica felt an undeniable pull, a lure that urged her to investigate the first door on their right. I think we should, Jessica started, but her words faded as she turned the knob of the nearest door. The moment she twisted the handle, it swung open smoothly, revealing a room shrouded in shadows. Jessica, please, Emma pleaded, grabbing her arm. But Jessica couldn't resist. She stepped inside, feeling the chill wrap around her. The air here was colder, sharp against her skin. Faded wallpaper peeled from the walls, revealing patches of blackened wood beneath. A small bedside table sat cloaked in dust, next to a wrought iron bed frame with a tattered quilt. Then they saw a doll, lying face down on the floor. It looked eerily familiar, its features twisted in unnatural proportions, as if molded from nightmares. Is that Eliza's doll? Sarah gasped, desperately trying to surface from the depths of fear. The doll's blue dress and white lace trim mimicked the photograph of the girl they had seen earlier. Before Jessica could respond, the door slammed shut behind them. The sound echoed like a scream, reverberating through their bones. Let us out, please, Emma cried, pounding on the door with her fists. It wouldn't budge. Jessica stepped closer to the doll. What if this is a clue? What if it means something? As she leaned down to pick it up, the lights flickered more violently, casting menacing shapes upon the walls. A scratchy voice filled the room. Eliza must be saved. A chill coursed through Jessica. What does that mean? Saved from what? The air thickened, a pressure like a heavy weight pressing on her chest. Whatever it is, we need to get out. Emma screamed, panic driving her voice higher. Wait, Sarah whispered, her eyes wide with realization. Maybe they're all trapped like us. We have to find her. We have to break whatever curse holds this place. The shadows danced hungrily around them, and a spectral figure began to materialize in the corner of the room, the same woman they had seen before, her face twisted in anguish. Help me, please, she cried, her voice echoing like a distant memory. Who are you? Jessica asked, taking a trembling step back. Find Eliza before she is lost forever, the ghostly figure implored, her voice fading into a haunting wail. In that moment, the ground shook beneath them. The walls cracked with a blinding light as a doorway at the end of the room opened, revealing a bright light. The moment was pregnant with possibility and dread. Go, Jessica shouted, her voice pushing them toward the light, desperate to escape the shadows that threatened to consume them. But as they rushed towards it, a chilling laughter echoed around them, twisting into a sickening crescendo. The light flickered, threatening to extinguish. Where would they find Eliza? Would they be brave enough to face the darkness that demanded sacrifice? As Jessica sprinted forward, the shadows lunged once more, whispering, "Not all will make it." The weight of their choices loomed as they stepped toward the uncertain promise of freedom. Would they uncover Eliza's fate, or lose themselves in this haunted labyrinth forever? Racing toward the blinding light, Jessica felt a surge of adrenaline, every instinct urging her forward. Emma and Sarah clasped her shoulders, their grip both a comfort and a reminder of their shared fate. Each step resonated through the floor, a rhythmic drumbeat amplifying the terror gripping their hearts. Suddenly, the walls tightened around them like a vice, the laughter growing louder, morphed into a cacophony of distorted voices. "Not all will make it," echoed again, more confident this time, a threatening promise that sent shivers racing down Jessica's spine. "Just a little further," she yelled, pushing through the suffocating fear. The door loomed closer, its radiant brightness a beacon against the overwhelming darkness. But as they approached, it began to shimmer and pulse, morphing into something nearly unrecognizable. "Wait, what if it's a trick?" Emma cried, her voice trembling as she hesitated. Fear painted her features a pale shade of dread. "There's nothing behind us but shadows. We have to go now," Sarah urged, urgency twisting her words. With a burst of determination, Jessica lunged forward, dragging her friends along. They crossed the threshold, tumbling into a vast, empty space drenched in white light. But in the instant they landed, the brightness faded to an eerie twilight, revealing a long, misty hallway stretching endlessly before them. What just happened? Emma panted, bewildered. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, creeping ever so slightly, a dark reminder of the corridor they had just escaped. "I don't know," Jessica said, scanning their surroundings, her heart pounding. Every instinct screamed that they weren't safe. Whatever that was, it wasn't real. "Look," Sarah pointed ahead. A figure emerged from the fog, small, delicate, and undeniably familiar. A girl with dark hair and an anxious expression, clutching the remnants of the same blue dress they'd seen on the doll. "Eliza!" They gasped in unison, disbelief blending with a glimmer of hope, but the girl's eyes were filled with desperation. "You have to leave. You can't stay here," she cried, her voice trembling as she darted toward them, wisps of fog swirling around her. "Why? What is happening?" Jessica demanded, feeling a tight knot of fear in her stomach. "There's no time. The shadows will come for you if you don't hurry." Eliza's warning was laced with urgency, her gaze darting nervously behind her, as if sensing an imminent danger. "Please, Eliza, we can help you," Emma pleaded, stepping forward. "We can break whatever curse is holding you here." The girl's expression shifted, a flicker of hope mixed with despair. "You don't understand. To save me, you must face the darkness, and some will not return." Jessica clenched her fists, determination surging through her. "We're not leaving you behind. We'll face whatever it is." But inside, doubt gnawed at her resolve. What if they couldn't? What if the shadows demanded sacrifice? As if summoned by her thoughts, the shadows began to thicken around them, swirling with hungry intent. The voices returned, a chorus of malicious whispers echoing through the air. Sacrifice, sacrifice, no. Jessica shouted, turning back to Eliza. Tell us what to do. But the girl's face turned grave, sorrow etched deep in her young features. You must choose who will stay, but know that every choice comes with a cost. The shadows closed in, and the oppressive air thickened. The decision loomed before them, heavy and foreboding. What choice? Sarah screamed, panic igniting in her voice. As the darkness surged, time seemed to slow, and a strange calm washed over Jessica. The shadows whispered more insistently, and she felt the weight of her friend's fate crushing down on her. Jessica! Emma's desperate cry pulled her back to the moment. We can't lose each other. A single thought crystallized in Jessica's mind, a realization both terrifying and liberating. Would she dare to confront the true nature of courage, of sacrifice? The moment hung suspended in the air, teetering on despair's edge. What choice would she make when the line between self-preservation and friendship blurred amidst the relentless approach of darkness? Would she stand firm and fight, or risk it all to save Eliza? The air crackled with tension, and just as Jessica opened her mouth to proclaim her decision, a shadow lunged forward, and the world around them began to fracture. Jessica's heart raced, her pulse echoing the frantic whispers of the shadows that swarmed around them. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, and she could feel the weight of her friend's eyes on her, wide with fear and desperation. What do we do? Sarah pleaded, tears glimmering in her eyes, while Emma stood rigid beside her, trembling. Eliza's small frame radiated vulnerability, and though she seemed ethereal, her urgency pulled at Jessica's core. You must choose, Eliza urged, her voice filled with sorrow. To save me, someone has to stay behind. Panic gripped Jessica's heart like a vice. The shadows twisted and swirled, whispering promises and threats, their voices growing louder, more insistent. Sacrifice, sacrifice, but Jessica felt a surge of strength deep within her. No, she shouted defiance into the darkness, finding a voice within the chaos. We will not let your shadows dictate our fate. The air crackled with raw energy, and the shadows recoiled slightly, as if her resolve had pushed against their malevolent hold. Eliza's expression clouded with sadness. You don't understand, she began, but Jessica interrupted, desperation lending her words fire. We can find another way. Help us save you, and keep us all together. A brief flicker of hope ignited in Eliza's eyes, before her face fell under the weight of the shadows. It's too late for me, but for you. Your bond can break the curse. Then we will break it together. Jessica yelled, grabbing Emma's and Sarah's hands tight. We promised we'd face this together, no matter what. The trio stood united, determined. Tell us what we need to do. Eliza hesitated, the shadows writhing hungrily, and then whispered, You must approach the heart of the darkness. Find the light within, and claim it. As she spoke, the darkness intensified with a growl, a low rumble vibrating through the floorboards. No, Jessica shouted defiantly. We won't let you take us. Their surroundings shifted once again, and the corridor began to warp, morphing into a vast, shadowy chamber, pulsating with a sinister energy. Jessica felt her chest tighten, a lump forming in her throat. This was at the heart of the hotel, the realm of the darkness. Stick together, Jessica urged, fear mingling with resolve as they pressed into the shadows. The whispers morphed into anguished screams, seemingly holding back a tide of tortured souls. Don't listen to them, Emma shouted. Stay focused. Through the haze of dark, Jessica spotted a shimmer in the distance, a faint light flickering like the last ember of a dying fire. Look, she gasped, pointing ahead, the sight igniting hope within her. As they moved closer, determination fueled their steps, pushing past the writhing tentacles of shadow that clawed at them. The light grew brighter, illuminating their way. It's almost there, Jessica shouted, adrenaline surging through her. They crossed the threshold into the light, and its warmth enveloped them like a protective embrace. As they reached the epicenter of the light, a figure materialized, a radiant form they recognized. Eliza stood before them, unshackled from the darkness that had clung to her. "Take my hand," she commanded, her voice clear and strong. Jessica, Sarah, and Emma grasped Eliza's hands, forming a circle. Heart pounding, Jessica called out, "Together, we stand against the darkness." With their voices unified, they pushed against the shadows, chanting Eliza's name like a prayer, each syllable resonating with vibrant energy that began to crack the oppressive fear. The darkness shrieked and churned, its hold faltering as light radiated around them, igniting the very walls. Must not lose. The shadows roared in rage as they swelled, temporarily coiling around the girls, but the light surged brighter, burning through the oppressive darkness. Jessica felt relief wash over her as the hellish murmurs began to fade. "We're not afraid," Jessica shouted, her words unwavering. "Feel the bond of love, of friendship. It will set us free," Eliza added, her angelic glow almost blinding. With one final surge, the darkness convulsed violently, gasping its last breaths before dissolving into wisps of smoke. The whispers died away, leaving a profound silence in their wake. As the glow dimmed, the chamber shifted once more, and they found themselves back in the hotel, standing in the light of day, the shadows nowhere in sight. The air felt crisp and fresh, the oppressive gloom lifted at last. And there, in a glimmering moment of peace, stood Eliza, fully formed and smiling. "You did it," she exclaimed, joy radiating off her. "You broke the curse." Jessica, Emma, and Sarah embraced Eliza, tears of relief and victory streaming down their faces. "We all did it together," Jessica said, still holding on tight. With the weight of years of darkness lifted, the Brock Hotel breathed anew, no longer a place of loss and regret, but a sanctuary of new beginnings. "Thank you," Eliza whispered, eyes shimmering with gratitude. "You've freed many souls bound in despair. The cycle can finally end." As the girls stepped outside, the sunlight warmed their faces. The once ominous hotel now basked in a golden hue, a beacon of hope. They looked at one another, shoulders relaxed, hearts open. "I can't believe we made it," Emma beamed, her smile infectious. Jessica felt a tear slip down her cheek, a mixture of sorrow and joy. "We faced the darkness together. We're stronger for it." With newfound resolve, they turned away from the Brock Hotel, grateful for the lessons learned, the bond forged, and the light reclaimed. As they walked into the warm embrace of Maplewood's sun, the shadows behind them flickered, once a reminder of the past, but not a lingering threat. They had faced the darkness, and they had won. Don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. We want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic ending. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support. Let's keep this community alive.